Okay. Um, I don't know how many of these I'm going to make, and I do not know how long they're going to be or anything, but I am tired of listening to all the garbage. So most of these are going to be about numbers and mathematics. There may be, on this first one, there will be a short opinion piece, but most of the time it's laced in facts, mathematical facts. So I am sick and tired of this administration just running roughshod all over mathematics and numbers. They're either too stupid to know, or they're doing it on purpose, in which case that's even worse. But I can tell you that the name of these videos is going to be stupid, stupid math, because they're really stupid. So the guy who occupies the White House, I don't call him by his name because he doesn't afford that courtesy to anybody else. I have an acronym for him, AODA, pronounced AODA, not to be confused with Yoda, YODA, who's that lovable little creature who's really intelligent in the Star Wars movies. AODA stands for Agent Orange Dumbass, and he is not little, he is not lovable, and he is definitely not smart. He's pretty damn stupid. So, my whole thing is I have heard him say this at least a half a dozen times about reducing um, prescription drug prices by 400%, 600%, 1,000%, 1,500%. Um, I'm here to tell you that's got to be the stupidest damn thing I've ever heard, because it's mathematically impossible to do that. You can't do that. Now, why am I making this, making this video, and how am I allowed to say that? Well, a lot of people that make videos, they don't stay in their lane, and they spew out stuff. Well, I'm here to tell you, mathematics and numbers is my lane. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics from a relatively prestigious engineering school at a large land grant university in the upper Midwest. And I dedicated my entire adult life, over 40 years, to teaching the correct way to do math and to work with numbers. I taught middle school, I taught high school, and I taught college. And so I've taught everything from basic arithmetic all the way up through differential and integral calculus and introductory undergraduate statistics. I'm here to tell you I'm the content expert. And his coming out by saying that you can reduce prices by that much is just plain stupid. It is not mathematically possible, and any fourth, fifth, or sixth grade, upper elementary, or middle school student will be able to tell that to him. Maybe, just maybe, he needs to, I don't know, maybe he needs to get rid of some of those idiots that he has working for him and hire a sixth grader who can check his math, because he obviously doesn't want to listen to these other folks, or maybe they don't know either. Maybe they're just as stupid as he is. I don't know. But I'm not sure which is worse, him repeating the same stupid ass numbers, or his quote unquote advisors in cabinet allowing him to do it. Because when they allow him to do that, guess what, cabinet and advisors? You make him look really stupid. Yeah, you make him look really stupid. And what that does is, if you're allowing that to happen, that makes, by osmosis, it makes you guys look stupid too. So you're all looking pretty damn stupid. Here's the deal, folks. If you have a price of something, say it's $5, you reduce it by $5. $5 is 100% of $5. You reduce $5 by $5, it's down to zero. There is a floor below which retail prices can't and won't go. That's it. You can't go below zero. And so the largest amount you can take off of whether it's a price or whether it's your inventory in a warehouse is 100%. You can only reduce by 100%. Now, someone might say, yeah, well, and by the way, you can call me Melboy. Um, Someone might say, well, Melboy, I've seen where things get, increased by 200, 300, 400, 500%. That's true because there's no ceiling. There is no ceiling. So you can increase it by however much you want to. I'll give you a couple of examples. One, my parents, who are now deceased, they bought a house in 1963 for $14,000. They lived in that house for 40 years. They sold the house for $230,000, that property with the house on it. That's about in round figures, 15 or 1,600% increase in value. That's possible. That is possible because it keeps increasing. And somebody bought it for $230,000, so the market bore what they wanted for it. Same with a retail price. If someone will pay for something that you paid $50 for but marked it up to $300, if they'll pay $300 for it, that's cool. But guess what? If you paid $50 for it and you marked it up to $300, that's a 500% markup. And so the markup can be more than 100%, but you cannot reduce anything by more than 100%. So saying that is, you guessed it, stupid. So that's the first number that I have a real problem. There's a bunch of them. There's going to be more than one video here, folks. But there's a bunch of these that I have a problem with. The other one that I want to talk about very quickly is this election we had a year ago. I keep hearing, well, from all these people in the Repub party, oh, this is what the people voted for, blah, 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 blah. And I heard AOTA go, yeah, it was a landslide. It was not a fucking landslide, okay? It was not a fucking landslide. If you look at the gap between those two, it was about 2 million votes. Oh, 2 million, that's a big number. But when you look at it in conjunction with how many total votes were cast, which was about 155 million, that's about 1.4% of the total votes. And according to somebody who follows this a little more closely than I do, that was the fourth, as far as the popular vote is concerned, that was the fourth closest election in the history of all presidential elections. That's not a landslide. That was a close election. And 1.4% gap is nothing. Also, I looked at the numbers a little bit, and I keep hearing, oh yeah, 2 million votes. Well, then if you're going to go by that, oh, and by the way, AOTA, congratulations, big boy. Took you 3 shots to finally win the popular vote. You got your ass kicked by Hillary Clinton, and you really got your ass kicked by Joe Biden. So yeah, Joe, if you all think that a 2 million vote gap was a big gap, 7 million votes is an ass kicking. Or to quote a wrestling vernacular, Joe Biden stomped a mud hole in you and walked it dry. Yeah, Joe Biden kicked your ass. So yeah, it's and by the way, he didn't get the majority of the votes. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. You just said that he won the election and he won the popular vote. That's right, he did. But mathematically, majority means more than half. He didn't get more than half. It was close. He got 49.8% of the total popular vote. That means that over half the people that voted in the presidential election voted for somebody else besides you. Dumb shit. So no, it was not a landslide. And here's something else that I looked at. I looked at 3 swing states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And I looked at the vote totals for each state, and I added them up, and the total gap of all 3 states was about 250,000 votes, give or take. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's about that. So, in other words, about 250,000 votes basically determined who won the presidential election. You know why? Because if you turn those 3 states around, leave everything else the same, turn those 3 states around, and give them to Harris, she wins by 271 to 269, and we're talking about President Harris and not President Ayotte. Yeah. So it was not that much of a difference between the two. And like I said, I want to emphasize, in 2020, you got your ass kicked. And the other thing is, I believe, and again, I counted this was a while ago, and I'm just doing this off of memory because I don't have it in front of me, but I believe if you look at the 50 states, it was either 25 states for Harris and 25 states for Ayotte, or it was 26-24 for Ayotte. One or the other. 26 for Ayotte, 24 for Harris. It was one of those two. But that's a pretty even split to me. That does not say landslide to me. The landslide that you should be talking about was when Reagan beat Mondale in '84. That was a landslide. Reagan had like 400 something votes in the Electoral College. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is what happened in Minneapolis. Now, I do not live in Minneapolis. However, I was born in Minnesota. I lived in Minneapolis from about 3rd grade on. I went to elementary, middle, and high school in Minneapolis, public school, and I went to college in Minneapolis. Got my bachelor's degree. So I know Minneapolis pretty well. You piss those people off up there, you must have done something really bad to piss them off, because they're pretty much even keel people. But I'm telling you this right now, you guys are all morons. You're fucking morons. Here's the deal. You come out an hour after the incident, and oh, she weaponized her car, and it was a domestic terror and all this other bullshit. I watched the video from 2 or 3 different angles. They had two or three different videos. I watched the video. I looked, guess where I looked? I looked at the tires. And it was very clear to me that as she started going forward, she had turned the wheel and her tires had turned to go this way to avoid the guy with the gun. She wasn't trying to run him over. If she was trying to run him over, she wouldn't have turned the wheel, and she would have gone straight into a snowbank right past where the guy was standing. But instead, she went down the street. That tells you her wheels were turned. You fucking idiots. Now, the last thing I want to say is this to the Secretary of Homeland Security, Christy stupid ass gnome. Leave Minneapolis, get the hell out of my home state, and do the only thing that you do well. Go shoot a dog. You're useless. You are absolutely useless. Get the hell out of Minnesota. They don't want you there. You're not needed there. Go away. You bother me, you bother them, you bother everybody. I will do more numerical stuff here in the next coming days, and I'll post those videos. I'm Melboy. Thank you for listening to me, and I welcome any comments that you might want to make.